Hi, this is Harold Smith. The four Gospels and the book of Acts shows us how God has acted in history. And then you have the epistles and the other books of the New Testament that give interpretation to the gospel. Now, the book of Galatians is an epistle that gives interpretation of the gospel. And it's written by the Apostle Paul. And it begins, the book of Galatians begins with this statement: Paul, an apostle. Now, this statement is short and direct, and we will soon find out that Paul is very upset with the Galatians. But before we get into that, let's look at, well, who is Paul? And we can find more information about Paul in Acts chapter 21, verse 39, and Acts 22, verses 3 and 4. But let me summarize some facts that we know about Paul. Paul is from Tarsus. Now, Tarsus is located in present-day Turkey. It was a Roman city. And it was a major center of commerce, and it was connected by Roman roads throughout the Roman Empire. And thus it was a very wealthy city. The city also had great influence by the Greek culture and the scholars of the Hellenistic period, people like Socrates and people like that. Second of all, Paul was a tent maker. Now, I'm not talking about making camping tents. Paul and his family made luxury tents. Tents like that you would probably see in a movie like Lawrence of Arabia, with the Persian rugs and the very decorative interior. Number three, Paul was a Roman citizen, which gave him some special rights and privileges. For example, he could travel freely throughout the Roman Empire. And there were other rights and privileges. Number four, Paul was a Hebrew. He was sent to Jerusalem to study under the Hebrew and Jewish scholar Gamaliel. And Gamaliel was also a leader in the Sanhedrin Council. Very influential person. He was well respected by all Jews. And Paul called himself or referred to himself at one time as being a Hebrew of the Hebrews. He knew everything about the Old Testament, well versed in all of the Jewish ceremonies and laws, and he knew what he was talking about. In fact, I would say he was a genius. He was fluent in Greek, Latin, Aramaic, Hebrew. Paul was a genius. But Paul was born to be a great servant of God. Paul was called to be an apostle. Now, a disciple is a follower and student of Jesus. But an apostle, he is a messenger from God with power and authority, like that of the prophets of the Old Testament. Paul declared himself to be an apostle, not sent from men or by man, but by Jesus Christ and God the Father. And we will talk a little bit more about his call a little bit later in our study. But Paul was called by Jesus Christ and God the Father. Now, I close this first session with this question. What has God called you to be? Have a blessed day.